Imagine a storm of creativity sweeping across Europe, around the late 1700s, right in the aftermath of the Enlightenment's rational thunder. This whirlwind was Romanticism, a bold counter-movement that urged people to look within, to feel deeply, to treasure nature, mystery, and the power of the human spirit. Today, we're embarking on a captivating journey through this fascinating era, its inspirational corners, its literary heroes, its emotional depths, its visual masterpieces, and how this current of thought still echoes in our world. And hey, if you enjoy this voyage into Romanticism, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these explorations coming. 1. The setting. From Enlightenment to emotion, Romanticism erupted as a reaction to the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason, order, and science. While the Enlightenment celebrated the mind, Romantics turned toward the heart. They believed that true understanding sprang from emotion, imagination, and a deep connection with nature. Think of it this way: the Enlightenment lit a bright bulb, Romanticism cranked the dimmer down and introduced candlelight, shadows, and mood. Picture it: industrial smokestacks rising, cities swelling, armies marching, political revolutions raging. Against that, people longed to escape, into forests, into memory, into music, into the very fire of human creativity and mortality. They imagined emotional landscapes as vast and wild as the physical ones. 2. Core Romantic ideas: primacy of emotion and imagination. Romantics prized feeling over logic. They valued passion, intuition, yearning, even pain. Imagination wasn't daydreaming, it was a creative force, capable of shaping art, philosophy, and even politics. Nature as revelation. Nature wasn't just scenery, it was alive, spiritual, a teacher. From lonely mountains to roiling seas, natural settings became symbols of beauty, sublimity, and even the divine, the sublime and the beautiful. Inspired by philosopher Edmund Burke, Romantics explored the sublime, experiences so vast or intense they overwhelmed the senses. A thunderstorm, a cliff edge, the infinite night sky, both thrilling and terrifying. Individualism and the artist hero. The artist became a solitary visionary, a genius whose inner world shaped the outer world. Poets, composers, painters, all became romantic heroes, sensitive and rebellious. Interest in the past, the exotic, the supernatural. Medieval castles, folklore, far-off lands, ghosts, and myths, all became electrifying sources of inspiration. They added mystery, fantasy, and a break from rational modernity. National identity and folk traditions. Many Romantics explored national roots, reviving folk tales, dances, songs, costumes. This interest fed emerging ideas of national pride. Yearning, sehnsucht, and melancholy. A sense of longing, often for a lost home, an unattainable ideal, or even for death, permeated Romantic works. It was not all sunshine. 3. Major literary figures. Germany. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a pioneer of Sturm und Drang, storm and stress, emotional turbulence. His novel The Sorrows of Young Werther, 1774, became a sensation, drawing readers into Werther's passionate despair and even inspiring copycat tragedies. Goethe's later Faust combined folklore, metaphysics, and poetic epic depth. Friedrich Schiller, poet, playwright, and friend of Goethe. He celebrated freedom, heroism, moral virtue, and in plays like William Tell, he fused political conscience with dramatic energy. England. William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, their 1798 collection Lyrical Ballads broke ground, centering ordinary language, emotional authenticity, and real landscapes. Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey celebrates the mind's eye and nature's restorative power. Coleridge, meanwhile, gave us weird classics like The Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Kubla Khan, visions of enchantment and guilt, sea monsters and opium-spun dreams. Percy Bysshe Shelley and Lord Byron, Shelley's radical imagination, his rebellious ideals, and tragic life, captured in Ozymandias and To a Skylark. Byron's flamboyant persona, dark, charismatic, scandalous, populated poems like Childe Harold's Pilgrimage and Don Juan. John Keats, a fragile youth who produced startling beauty and emotional intensity before dying at 25. A thing of beauty is a joy forever, his odes mingled sensory delight and deep yearning. France. Victor Hugo, although later Romanticism, Hugo's Les Miserables and The Hunchback of Notre Dame reveled in social justice, individual suffering, grandeur. His poetic voice was emotional and powerful, political and visionary. Germaine de Stael, thinker and salonier, she wrote on Germany, 1810, which introduced German Romantic ideas across France, especially stressing emotion, spontaneity, and cultural variety. Other voices in Eastern Europe, Romanticism intertwined with national awakenings, Polish, Czech, Russian poets celebrated native language and legends. In Russia, Romanticism laid the groundwork for literary giants like Pushkin and Lermontov. 4. Visual and musical Romanticism painting, Caspar David Friedrich, Germany, iconic landscapes, solitary figures gazing across vast lakes or forests, symbols of introspection and awe. J.M.W. Turner, England, loose, dramatic, light-filled canvases, storms at sea, epic sunsets. Think of tornado-like brushstrokes and emotional torrents. Eugène Delacroix, France, grand historical and exotic scenes bursting with color, liberty leading the people is drama personified on canvas. Music, classical music blossomed emotionally. Beethoven, his Third Symphony, Eroica, broke classical rules, long, expressive, revolutionary. His Ninth, Ode to Joy, became an anthem of human unity. Franz Schubert, Lied, art songs that capture beauty and sorrow. Chopin, Polish piano poetry, melancholic, nationalistic, intimate. Liszt and Schumann, virtuosity and character pieces, musical mini-stories, reveries, and fantasies. 5. Key themes and developments. Nature as spiritual and emotional teacher. Walking through a forest or by a lake, Romantics weren't just sightseeing. They entered a sacred dialogue. Their art often addresses nature as wise, mysterious, even divine. The sublime and awe encountering something immense, an ocean storm, a mountain gorge, a thunderbolt, evoked awe mixed with terror. Romantics explored that electric, overwhelming feeling. National Romanticism. Instead of just classical or elitist sources, artists and writers turned to local folklore, ballads, legends, romanticizing their own people's roots, dialects, costumes, even architecture. Supernatural, mystery, Gothic. Think castles, specters, curses. Frankenstein, 1818, by Mary Shelley introduced questions about science, creation, hubris, and set Gothic tropes for centuries. Edgar Allan Poe in America explored terror and madness in short fiction and poetry. Rebellion, freedom and revolutions. Many Romantic artists, inspired by the French Revolution, wrote about liberty, human rights, social justice, though some recoiled as the revolution turned violent. Their art reflected rebellion, protest, moral passion. The hero artists themselves were often the subject, tormented geniuses, outsiders, visionaries. Their lives became part of the Romantic legend, and the personality of the artist became inseparable from the work. 6. Philosophical and cultural impact on philosophy. Romanticism challenged Enlightenment rationality. Thinkers like Johann Herder emphasized empathy, cultural diversity, and emotional bonds across languages, prefiguring cultural anthropology. In nationalism, myth and folk songs became pillars of national identity. Folk collection efforts like the Brothers Grimm in Germany stemmed from Romantic interest. In psychology and education, Romantics expanded ideas of childhood innocence, e.g. Rousseau's Emile. By the 19th century, schools began to teach creativity and emotional literacy. Later influence, symbolists, existentialists, modernist poets, they all drew on Romantic intensity. Even today, Romanticism echoes in environmentalism, nature as sacred, in indie music, in films that spotlight emotional authenticity. 7. Criticisms and downsides. No movement is perfect. Critics of Romanticism have pointed out its occasional self-indulgence, melodrama, and tendency toward myth-making. Some argue it romanticized poverty or the noble savage, or glossed over real social problems with dreamy escapism. Still, these critiques haven't stopped its influence from running deep. 8. Romanticism's legacy today in popular culture. Goth and emo aesthetics, the resurgence of folk music, fantasy novels rooted in medieval legend, all hold Romantic DNA. In cinema and media, think sweeping landscapes, brooding protagonists, quests for meaning, emotional catharsis. Romance and adventure movies often riff on romantic themes. In environmentalism, the idea that nature is sacred, vulnerable, and worthy of protection, this echoes Romantic reverence for the wild. In mental health and self-help, the idea that we should probe our feelings, accept longing, embrace imperfection, this comes from Romantic psychology. 9. Where to start reading or watching books. Romantic era. The Sorrows of Young Werther, Goethe the Lyrical Ballads, Wordsworth and Coleridge Frankenstein, Mary Shelley Selected Poems, Keats, Shelley, Byron, Wordsworth Art, Caspar David Friedrich's Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog Turner's Seascapes, Delacroix's Liberty Leading the People Music, Beethoven's Symphonies, No. 3, No. 9, Chopin's Nocturnes, Schumann's Piano Pieces. Modern essays and videos engage with retrospectives on Romanticism in art, music, literature. There are countless documentaries that pair visuals with narration to illustrate the sublime and the journey. 10. Final reflection. Romanticism invites us to trust our hearts, to seek wonder, to stand awed before a mountain, a poem, a refrain of music. It invites longing, creativity, melancholy, but also hope and transformation. In an age of algorithms, data feeds, and endless noise, Romanticism still calls us to pause, reflect, imagine, to honor the emotional landscape within and around us. Thank you for joining this deep dive into Romanticism's history of ideas. If this evocative journey into emotion, art, and imagination lit a spark, please give a thumbs up, share with fellow thinkers, and subscribe to continue exploring the currents that shaped our world. See you next time, where our story might lead is a mystery, but a beautiful one.